This is Ishe with livingishe Reviews, and we are just reviewing a video today, and let's get into it.
Good evening, peon. We trust you don't see through our propaganda to the crimes against humanity that are happening as we speak. Speaking of which, whatever happened to that 15-day-long pandemic that we've been aggressively pushing for the past 2 years? Well, before we never answer that, World War III is happening right now! Thank God. For a full scoop on the latest of what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, we'll throw it over to Kamala Harris to explain everything.
Already, you see the propaganda and agendas. It's like World War III is a distraction. Because, like, everything else is, like, kind of, like, no news right now. Let's go.
So, Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So, basically, that's wrong.
We did this to ourselves. What a great
Man, who was she talking to? Was she talking to like children? I hope she wasn't talking to adults, like functioning adults. She could have been talking to Joe Biden. I don't know. Let's go.
Nation, Madam Diversity. And she further helped protect the world as war is breaking out by taking to Twitter to explain the following. We must increase protections for the LGBTQ plus Americans across the country. The onslaught of state bills targeting transgender Americans and their families is wrong. Thank you for the Marxism. Helps out a lot. And Putin, in case you're watching, her pronouns are she, her. We currently have no idea what gender Vladimir Putin.
I've noticed that on a lot of email chains, and like I get emails from people and I'm like, is that what we have to start doing? Do we have to start putting our our gender on the bottom of our emails? It's so strange. Like I don't know what's happening. Like, why are we doing this stuff? Let's go.
Because he doesn't indicate his pronouns anywhere. Therefore, he can't be considered a real threat because we have no idea what he is. Oh, look, Twitter allows the president of Russia to have a Twitter account, but not the former president of the U.S. Doesn't tell us anything about who the real threat is, does it? The vice president, not a white man, doesn't paint a clear enough picture about what's happening with Russia and Ukraine for a crystal clear understanding of what's going on. Let's see what Hunter's dad has to say.
How do we get to the place where, Putin decides he's going to just invade Russia? Nothing like this has happened since World War II.
Well,
what? Putin invades Russia. And did y'all catch what they said? Like, the actual sitting president of the United States can't have a Twitter account, but the so-called enemy gets a Twitter account. His doesn't get removed. That's so... What are we doing here? Let's go.
I guess our biggest concern would be if Putin decides to invade Russia. Wonder what that would be like, Mr. President. This just in. We're not allowed to talk about election integrity, so we won't. But unlike President Brandon's concern, we don't think Putin will invade Russia. He would be too intimidated by Biden's military. How so? Well, since taking office, Biden has dismantled our military, replacing some tactical training time with critical race theory training time. He's dismantled the most fierce military on the planet in favor of forming the most diverse military on the planet. Which is exactly how you win wars. Putin's almost all-white military doesn't have nearly enough diversity to stand up against Biden's military. Moving along. Putin clearly underestimates the man who said an infamous KKK leader and recruiter was a friend and mentor. And last year, in an...
Everybody has short memories. Like, this dude has been racist for a long time. Just just be honest. Like, just keep it a buck. People have short memories, but everybody's like trying to say, "Oh, it's two white racist men that we have to vote for, so let's vote for the less racist one." Well, I don't think they found any tweets like that of this our last president supporting a highly known racist that's been racist for his whole time in politics. But anyway, let's go.
Precedented move. Biden saved the U.S. from Trump's policy of making the U.S. energy independent when he shut down the Keystone Pipeline, which then made us energy dependent on Russia. Take that, Putin.
That's
now
weird.
Biden's got himself right where you want him to be. Biden.
So how can we? So let me get this right. We closed the pipeline that we were getting our oil from, and now we're reliant on Russia, but we're going to war with Russia. Oh, man, what the?
Is a world leader who is an expert at playing four-dimensional chess, where he mostly just takes his own pieces off the board. Kind of makes Biden the opposite of how Trump was with Putin.
Oh, see how I pulled him in? Blind leading the blind. What was that?
Once you turn around to your right,
It's like,
It's pretty badass. Moving along. A man
Oh,
arguably
man.
brighter than Biden, as if that's possible, Elon Musk says, "Hate to say it, but we need to increase oil and gas output immediately. Extraordinary times demand extraordinary measures." And he goes on, saying, "Obviously, this would negatively affect Tesla, but sustainable energy solutions simply cannot react instantaneously to make up for Russian oil and gas exports." Well, what Elon doesn't understand is with Biden buying America's oil and gas from Russia, America is funding Russia in the war. And Elon just assumes we wouldn't want to do that for some reason. You gotta stop thinking like a genius and start thinking like a reptile, Elon. And in dictator headlines, Putin passes a law imposing a 15-year jail term on anyone spreading lies about the military. What Putin is doing to suppress free speech is wrong. Here's how the Biden administration does it. They advise Facebook on what to censor. And all the other big tech companies defecate on the First Amendment in the name of being loyal to their party's agenda. They also employ independent fact checkers who are very dependent on the ones who fund them, who then censor dangerous things like information and truth. This is the proper way of doing it, Putin, because when the Biden administration does it, they are protecting American citizens by upholding democracy based on what we tell you to think. But when Putin does it, he is actively harming his citizens by destroying democracy when he does the same thing. Tell the sheep to feel outrage when Putin does it. You should feel outrage when Putin does it.
they're doing the same thing. What? Let's go.
To Elon Musk. When certain governments have asked him to cut Russian news feed sources on his Starlink satellites, he says, "Starlink has been told by some governments, not the Ukraine, to block Russian news sources. We will not do so unless at gunpoint. Sorry to be a free speech absolutist." Weird. The world's smartest man supports free speech? Even speech he doesn't agree with? Maybe he knows something we don't. But probably not, right? Concluding tonight's report, moving on from the war being waged overseas to the war being waged on you by the Biden administration, as he enters his second year of not knowing he's president, President Brandon delivered his first State of the Union address. And it was great. Everything makes sense now.
President Brandon, that's hilarious. Yeah, his speech didn't mention anything about African Americans. Let's go.
Doesn't it? There were three notable highlights from the address. Number one, when Biden said we're going to reduce inflation by increasing spending. Can't wait. Makes a lot of sense. Maybe we'll also reduce global warming by increasing carbon emissions. And we could get people to sleep more by having them stay up all night. And we'll start fighting fires with flamethrowers. Relax. He's got inflation under control, America. And number two, Biden said we don't need to defund the police. We need to refund the police. Some conspiracy theorists think this is the biggest case of gaslighting we've seen since the last time he said words out loud. They're obviously wrong. Joe's been saying we need more police funding all along. Right? Right. And number three, during the State of the Union, Nancy Pelosi was seen trying to keep her dentures from falling out while doing an impression of a praying mantis. But in a very controversial call,
She's doing the Birdman hands, but with her fists. So defunding the police, I don't think the agenda to defund the police was taking money away from them necessarily, as it was using that money to fund other things, such as programs and education in the communities that historically need policing. So, for instance, like how they took away trades from schools. Like when I was in school, they always had classes where you can learn how to do different trades. If you didn't want to go to college, or you weren't, you didn't think you were ever going to go to college, you could at least learn a trade. You can learn electronics, you can learn metal, you can learn carpentry, trades that make money. But they took that out of the schools, and if you don't go to college, what are you going to do? I mean, they could use that money to fund certain programs in communities. Like they took away a lot of after-school programs. They took away a lot of recreation centers, a lot of just things that will keep kids out of getting in trouble and keep them out of a life of crime by teaching them stuff. I mean, that money that they're given towards the police could be used for other things. But anyway, let's go.
Fact checkers have confirmed she was not doing an impression of a praying mantis. She was simply receiving her latest insider trading tip. And finally, after so many examples of seeing government officials who care so much about the American people that they're willing to sell them out for their own personal gain, here is Governor DeSantis displaying the 3 C's of care, courage, and common sense.
You do not have to wear those masks. I mean, please take it. Honestly, it's not doing anything. We got to stop with this COVID fear. So if you want to wear it, fine, but this is ridiculous.
Schmobit Theater. Man, that was brilliant. See, this is a thinking person in politics. Like, it is ridiculous at this point. So.
All right, well, it's good to be at USF. Well done, America's governor. That's it for tonight's news. Tune in tomorrow night to avoid having the opportunity to accidentally get in touch with your own critical thinking. That would be dangerous for our agenda. I mean you. Good night.
All right, this dude was funny. A lot of good points on this video. I'm not a political party supporter of any kind. I don't support either party. I don't consider myself a Democrat or Republican or Libertarian, none of that stuff. So I have no side. I just like common sense. Whatever makes sense to me is who I vote for and what I vote for. We gotta, at the end of the day, it's all, two wings of the same bird. So it basically belongs to the same person. It seems like it's all theater, just like that governor said. We got to stop with this theater. All right, y'all. That was it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe. All right. All that. Peace.